Okay, another week, another Canadian drama. Last week we talked about 660 millions being promised to LGBTQ and women protection, which, again, we have a laws against discrimination. So what are we talking about? If the law doesn't work, maybe put more money into the law enforcement or change the law a little bit. But with the crazy budget numbers we saw right now, do we really need to send another 660 millions to the LGBTQ? I don't know. Make your own opinion. I made a video about it. I'm against it, honestly. We have laws. We should enforce the law, right? And then on October 31st, something crazy happened. There was a Supreme Court ruling, and I'm not saying it has anything to do with this 660 millions to LGBTQ, even though it's kind of ridiculous that we're giving more protection to LGBTQ with this 660 millions, right? And pretty much harsher the hate speech bill. So for the meme with dark humor, you can go to prison. If you deny Holocaust, you're going to prison. And that happened. I'm not sure if it was 6 months or 9 months sentence, but the guy went to the prison. To me, it would be more like send him back to school, right? But sure. Well, anyway, back to the Supreme Court ruling. And this is very disturbing and honestly disgusting. So there used to be a mandatory minimum for the monsters that hold child pornography, right? The mandatory minimum jail time was 1 year. Well, the Supreme Court decided that that's against Constitution, so they canceled this mandatory minimum. And I'm not sure if you can really connect it to Liberal Party or no, even though liberals were trying to get rid of all of these mandatory minimums for the crime, because as we know, they like the criminals to run free. Well, that's my opinion, right? Well, that being said, it took a while for Mark Carney to make an announcement about it, and like I said, it's kind of weird that we're giving this extra protection to groups like LGBTQ, and then we're taking protection away from kids. I'm not saying it's connected, but definitely interesting week. Well, we have a video over here with Pierre Poilievre and Mark Carney. Apparently, Carney promised to table legislation that will penalize possession of child abusive material. So before we get to the video, what do you think about it? Just shoot me a comment. My comment or my opinion is, if you're holding child pornography, you should go to prison for at least 5 years. You should get castrated, and you should be put on the publicly available list of the child abuse offenders. And I would go even further, and I would say you should be branded on your face, so everyone who sees you knows who you are, and that they should protect the kids in front of you. I'm sorry, you don't stumble on the child pornography. You have to, I don't even know what you have to do. Like, I don't think you go on Google and Google that shit. And I don't think normal people want to Google that shit or want to find it. So if you go and somehow obtain it, yes, the kids are endangered by you. Yes, everyone should know what scumbag you are. So yeah, like I said, minimum 5 years in prison. I would go even further. I would give them 80 or 10. You know? Come on. You're literally abusing child. Well, maybe you should go through the hold childhood in prison, 18 years in the prison, right? Then brand on the face, and I'm saying brand, I'm not saying tattoo, because you can get rid of the tattoo, right? I mean, probably brand as well, but yeah, brand him like a farm animal on the face over here so everyone can see it, and then put his name on the list that's gonna be available everywhere. Schools, kindergartens, every website that parents have access to. Do you think it's harsh? Shoot me a comment, but I don't think so. Like, it should be all about protecting kids. So let's see what Mark Carney is gonna say about it, and I really hope that he's gonna go hard for that, especially after, like I said, after they're giving extra protection to the LGBTQ community again, even though we have laws that should protect them, right? Yeah, that being said, just the sound on this video is nothing special. One would think that the global news will manage, but yeah, legacy media, right? Definitely underfunded, I guess. I don't know. I guess vouching for Carney is not profitable for them.
Last week, the Supreme Court ruled that a 1-year prison sentence was too much for possession of child abuse and exploitation materials. That sentence was already far too low for
ridiculous.
the two dirtbags who had literally hundreds of impressions and videos of children being tortured. Will the Prime Minister do the right thing, invoke the notwithstanding clause in order to put the rights of children ahead of the rights of those who abuse them?
It's ridiculous that Pierre Poilievre even have to prompt him. Like, it happened on what, October 31st, and now you have November 5th. And we're getting, this article's like 4 hours old, right? Seriously? If that happened, or once that happened, Mark Carney should have been the first one tweeting about it, making comments like, no, hell no, we're gonna go even harder. But again, like, we see where all of these liberals' policies are, and like, mark my words, if we let liberals in power, eventually it's gonna be love is love, pedophilia is okay. Like, it's going that way. And again, I'm don't get me wrong, I'm not connecting it to LGBTQ because I know a lot of people will accuse me of that. But come on, like, liberals are just, they're not using logic anymore. I would not be surprised if they came up with this shit.
I'm sure I join all members of this House in condemning the exploitation of children as the most reprehensible sorts of crime.
Okay, yeah.
Mr. Speaker, that is why this government will be bringing forth legislation to combat these crimes, to penalize those who are responsible. That works within our Constitution. Hear, hear, hear.
That should have been already on the table. Like, come on, you had, what, 5 days? 5 days to figure it out.
The Supreme Court has ruled that a mere 1-year mandatory prison sentence for the heinous crime of possessing child sexual abuse and exploitation material is cruel and unusual punishment. The criminals in this case possess materials depicting evil acts against children as young as 3 years old. Conservatives believe it is outrageous that these types of child predators could walk free.
Fucking 3 years old? Yeah, definitely 18 years in prison. Like, what the fuck? Like I said, 18 years in prison, castration, brand, and put on the list. International list, not just Canada, international. Because this is fucking ridiculous. Brand them when they go to prison.
with less than a year in prison. This court decision must be overturned using the notwithstanding clause, but the Liberals have refused to act. Why are they more concerned with protecting the rights of these vile predators than the rights of these innocent victims?
That's what I'm saying.
Let me be unequivocal. Child abusers are heinous criminals and should be treated as such by Canada's criminal laws. We will be moving forward with legislation.
Should be treated. Liberal government, 10 years in power. Why are you saying should? Shouldn't it be are treated? Like, I don't know, like we're pretending like liberals were not in power for 10 years, right? We're pretending like they're completely new. No, like what the hell?
Solutions that will give clear directions to the courts to ensure that serious crimes are met with serious penalties. If the Conservatives want not only to ask questions in the House, but actually achieve progress on this file, they can stop the obstruction on the Strong Borders Act, which is meant to give powers to law enforcement to actually stop child abuse that we know is happening. It's one thing to talk in the House, it's another thing to cast a vote in a way that will make a difference. I invite them to join the cause.
Criminals who possess child sexual abuse and exploitation material deserve lengthy prison sentences. They cause unimaginable suffering and harm to innocent children. These precious kids will carry the scars of what was done to them for the rest of their lives. Conservatives and Canadians are calling on the government to invoke the notwithstanding clause and overturn this appalling Supreme Court ruling immediately. The Liberals refuse to do so. Why are the Liberals more concerned with protecting the right?
Are you fucking kidding me? So they refuse to do it again. Like I said, how ridiculous it is. So we're rather protecting adults than children. Send 660 millions away from LGBTQ, send it on the protection of children. Like really, what's the bigger issue? What's the bigger issue? Someone making fun of someone or the kid getting literally abused? I don't know. And especially since you already have a laws in place that prevent discrimination and hate speech. But the law that was at least somehow protecting children was just pretty much cancelled, right? And the Liberals refused to restore it. Like, that's ridiculous. And they're using it as a negotiation thing. You heard it. It was like, oh, well, if Conservatives want this, well, then they should vote on this different bill or law or whatever you want to call it, issue, because that would indirectly help. Seriously? You should have a bill on the place after 5 days. Vote on it straight away. That would protect the kids. But no, you're using the kids as the negotiation tool. Like, what the hell?
Of guilty pedophiles than standing up for the rights of innocent children.
We're going to be bringing forth legislation that is going to address this particular issue. But I would like to ask why the Conservatives have been against every measure that we have put forward to protect our children, Mr. Speaker. We brought an online harms legislation. They voted against it. We brought lawful access tools for law enforcement. They are against it. Mr. Speaker, why are they protecting child abusers?
2 men pleaded guilty to having hundreds of images of innocent children. They were sexually abused, they were exploited, they were tortured. The Supreme Court made a decision that a 1-year jail sentence was too harsh. Conservatives vehemently disagree with this decision. The Liberals have an opportunity to use the notwithstanding.
Okay, let's put it into perspective. We're not talking about a girl who's 17 claiming that she's 18. We're talking about 3 years old kids. And they think 1 year is too much. Are you serious? 1 year for every picture. Let's put it this way. 1 year for every picture, 1 year for every second of the video. And like I said, castrate them, because you never know with this stupid government if they're gonna let them go or no. So again, castrate them straight away, brand them, and yeah, we'll see how long we're gonna have to pay for them in the prison, right? Because somehow some of the criminals still have better moral values than pedophiles. I mean, it's not that hard to have better moral values, right? But somehow, well, actually, look, our liberal government doesn't really have that moral value. It's disgusting what's going on. Disgusting. They're using it for negotiation. They're trying to blame conservatives, even though liberal government has the power to overturn the ruling and restore this mandatory minimum. And again, why are we talking about the mandatory minimum when you have two guys in possession of hundreds of pictures? They plead guilty, and your issue is that there's mandatory minimum 1 year. What do you want to give them? Oh, liberal government, catch and release, right? But I'm sorry, like for this, that shouldn't be catch and release. Like, I would rather let the freaking, I don't know, guys who robbed the LCBO, or even the guys who did home invasions, I would rather let them go than these two guys. But no, we're gonna argue if 1 year, or liberals will argue that 1 year is too much.
Clause and take a stand for innocent children. Why is this government concerned with protecting the rights of pedophiles instead of standing up for those children?
Hear, hear.
I've been speaking to lots of families that have been victims of crime.
That's right.
And Mr. Speaker, many have been asking for online harms legislation. We brought legislation like that in this House, and that member, Mr. Speaker,
right.
was active in voting against it and made sure that didn't pass in this House.
Yeah.
Mr. Speaker, law enforcement is also asking for tools to catch predators, but the Conservatives, guess what, are against it, Mr. Speaker. So why are they so concerned about the privacy rights of criminals instead of protecting our children?
Hold on. It's not about privacy rights of criminals. It's about the privacy right of the normal people. Because with this legislation you're proposing, my guess is that it's going to affect everyone. And in the end, liberals will twist it around so the innocent people will be getting cancelled, fired, possibly sent into the prison thanks to your new hate speech bill. That literally for the meme you can go to the prison. That's ridiculous. And how can liberals even talk about a crime? Like with their catch and release. But again, you know what? That's all just to distract us from the main issue. So the main issue is that the liberals refuse to overturn the Supreme Court's ruling, and they refuse to restore the mandatory minimum of 1 year for child pornography possession. Really? Like 1 year, you think that's too harsh? Like I said, 18 years or 5 years per every picture, every second of the video. And then the other parts are more important. Castration of the person who has that. Why? Normal people don't look for that stuff. If someone looks for that stuff, it's a danger to society, danger to our kids. So castration, mark or brand on the face, exactly like farm animals, put on the public list of the child sex offenders, and prison, obviously, right? I don't know. I think everything less is just outrageous. I don't know, share your opinion with that. And like I said, this week was kind of crazy. So we have the hate speech bill that's supposed to protect certain groups. We have 660 millions going to protect certain groups. And yet, we're taking protection away from our kids. And you can say that it's indirect protection, but once you have these things in place, mandatory minimum for the prison, or what I said, do you really think these monsters would risk it? What's the possibility that they will risk it now when liberals are like, yeah, you can have it pretty much? Or are they gonna risk it if there's a castration, prison sentence, all of that in place? Like I said, give me your opinion down in the comments.